In my real life, I am a social studies teacher, and I am a firm believer that Black history is American history. Unfortunately, the way that it is taught in schools does not always reflect that. I try to use as many primary sources as possible in my instruction so that I can expose my students to a lot of different viewpoints throughout history. But during February, when the opportunity presents itself, I do like to take some time to focus in more on people who have made history, but unfortunately have not had their stories as widely told as they deserve to be. The whole presentation can be found for free at the link in the caption. I'm a firm believer that history does not belong behind a paywall, so if you want to learn more, I am more than happy to share whatever I have. The first story I wanted to share was William H. Hastie. William H. Hastie was the very first African-American federal judge. He was born and raised in Tennessee in the early 1900s and attended Howard University, a historically Black college and university, HBCU, and became a lawyer. Hastie was very good at what he did, and he drew the attention of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who appointed him to the District Court of the Virgin Islands, making him the very first African-American federal judge. It was a huge controversy because, quite frankly, no one believed that African-American people could do that at the time, but he proved them wrong and did very well at the job. In 1939, he decided to resign so that he could become the dean of the law school at Howard University, his alma mater, and he wanted to mentor young African Americans who were going into the legal field. One of his mentees is Thurgood Marshall, who will end up being the very first African American Supreme Court justice. During World War II, he lended his legal expertise as a civilian aide to the office of the Secretary of War. Unfortunately, in this position, he saw how different African American soldiers were being treated from white soldiers and protested for equal treatment of all soldiers. When his protests seemed to fall on deaf ears, he resigned from his position and started to work more closely with the NAACP to fight for equal treatment or integration of the U.S. Armed Forces. President Harry S. Truman did hear what he had to say and was very impressed with how passionate Hastie was in his cause and how willing he was to fight for justice, and ended up being appointed governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Harry S. Truman is the same person who integrated the U.S. Armed Forces in 1948. Once his governorship ended, he was appointed once again by Harry S. Truman to the United States Courts of Appeals for the Third Circuit, making him the very first African-American federal appellate judge. Hastie said, "Difficulty need not foreshadow despair or defeat. Rather, achievement can be all the more satisfying because of the obstacles surmounted."